திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். புழியர்கோன் வெப்பொழித்த புகழியர்கோன் கடல் போற்றி, ஆழிமிசை கல்முதப்பில் அணைந்த பிரான் அடி போற்றி, வாழி திருநாவலூர் வன்றொண்டர் பதம் போற்றி, ஊழிமலி திருவாத ஊரர் திருத்தாள் போற்றி. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். So today we will discuss a padhigam of Thirunavukkarasar. So far in the last several padhigams we have been seeing Sambandhar's thevaram. So today we are going to see a padhigam from Thirunavukkarasar. So before we go into the padhigam, let me give a brief background of the events that lead up to this padhigam. So Thirunavukkarasar, he was born in a place about 150 kilometers south of Madras, a place called Tirunavukkarasar. And his parents had a daughter first, and her name was Tilakavati. And a few years later they had a son, and that is Thirunavukkarasar. So Thirunavukkarasar, when he was born, his parents gave him the name Marul Niki. Very interesting name. Marul Niki. Marul means confusion. Niki means one who removes. So with a name like the remover of confusion, which is Marul Niki, Thirunavukkarasar was growing up. So he probably was, let's say, 7 or 8 years old. His sister was probably 12 or 13 years old. And in those days, girls will get married very young, even boys. So the girls will get married by 13 or 14, and boys will get married by 16 or 17, latest. So her parents had fixed her marriage to somebody called Kalipagai. And they had scheduled the wedding to take place, let's say, they look at the auspicious month and the muhurtam and all that, right? So they had set up a date and time for the wedding. But in the intervening period, right, there was probably 2 or 3 months intervening period, and in that period, the king had to go to war with some neighboring king, I guess. And he had called his army, and Kalipagai was asked to come and join the battle as part of his army. So Kalipagai was called to the battlefield, so he went. And I don't know how long the battle was or where the battle was, etc. But obviously it would have taken a month or 2 or something like that for him to go fight and come back and all that. But in the meantime, suddenly the parents die. Tilakavati's parents, they die. We don't know. In those days, any kind of epidemic could have occurred. That could be, malaria, cholera, you name it, right? All kinds of diseases that come, illnesses that cause death rapidly. So, both his parents pass away, and Tilakavati is taking care of her younger brother, and they are waiting for Kalipagai to come back so that she can get married. And a few weeks later, a message comes saying that Kalipagai was killed in the battlefield. So the person to whom Tilakavati was going to get married, he has died as well. So Tilakavati was heartbroken, and she said, my parents are dead, my future husband is dead, so I don't want to live anymore. So she decides to commit suicide. In those days, you know how it is, right? They will set up a pyre, and then they will lie, and they will be burnt to death voluntarily. So she decides to commit suicide in that manner, and she has made arrangements. And then at the time, the younger brother, right, Marul Niki, who was, as I said, 7 or 8 years old, he cries and hugs his sister and says, if you die, I will also die. And Tilakavati listens to her brother's pleas and then feels her responsibility, that parents are no more, she is the older sister and he is a young brother, and it is her responsibility to take care of him, and she shouldn't abandon that responsibility. So she changes her mind. She decides to raise her brother, and like a mother, she raises him. Because, remember, there are 7 or 8 years difference, so she's much older. So she, like a mother, she raises him. And Marulniki grows up into a young man. He is very intelligent, very smart, well educated, so he learns a lot of things. And then, in those days, Jainism was the major religion in the south. Hinduism was always there, but Jainism had come from the north and had converted many kings, and it had become a very powerful religion in many of the southern part of India at that time, in many parts of southern India. And so Marulniki wanted to know what's the philosophy of Jainism, so he starts reading the Jainism literature and philosophy, and he gets attracted to that. So he gets so attracted to Jainism that he decides to become a Jain monk. So he joins the Jain monastery and trains to become a Jain monk. And Tilakavati was very unhappy with this turn of events, right? She had nobody, but she was living only to take care of her brother. And her brother, that she spent so much time and energy and love in so many years, has rejected her way of life, rejected her ideals, has gone and got converted into another religion. See, she was very sad, and she couldn't live in that place anymore. So she goes about to another place called Thirunavukkarasar, which is about, let's say, 15 kilometers from where she grew up. So she goes to that place. There's a big Shiva temple. She lives there, and she has been doing service in the temple. When you say service in the temple, all the things that one has to do to take care of the temple. Sweeping the temple, washing the floor, doing koym in the front of the temple, and tending to the gardens, plucking flowers, making garlands, all kinds of things, that service that one does in a temple. And she is praying to Shiva to show the right path to her brother, and she spends her life doing this. In the meantime, Marulniki, who has become a Jain monk now, he has become a very powerful monk. He has become a leader among the monks, and he is called Dharmasena in Jainism. So he comes to be known as Dharmasena, and he is a big Jain monk. And as the Jain monks, Jainism, it was against Hinduism, it was against the Vedic way of worship. So they were, like any religion that is trying to convert others, goes around saying that your gods are false, you are doing things wrong, our way of life is the right way of life, and if you don't do this, you will go to hell, all those kind of things, right? So they were disparaging the Hindu way of worship and all that. So this has been going on for 20, 30, 40 years. We don't know how long exactly passed, but this has been going on for many decades. So by now, Tilakavati has become an old lady. Dharmasena has become an old man. And one day, in Tilakavati's dream, Shiva appears. He says, Tilakavati, I will give an incurable stomach ailment to your brother and make him my devotee. Don't worry. And on that night, Dharmasena, who is in the Jain monastery, comes down with very severe stomach pain. In Tamil, they call it Sulai Noi. It's not exactly clear what is a specific illness, but you can say that incurable stomach pain. It could be anything, we don't know, but it's an incurable stomach pain. So the Jain monks, they try their whatever medicines they know for these kind of ailments. They try that. They chant whatever mantras they know to remove this kind of ailments, but nothing works. And Dharmasena feels that he is going to die soon. And when we are close to death, our mind will bring back old memories. Our mind will be thinking about the bad things that we have done in our life and people who we have insulted. All kinds of things will come back into our memory when you are in that kind of a situation. And at the time, Dharmasena wants to meet his sister, Tilakavati. So he sends a messenger to Tilakavati and asks her to come to the monastery to see him before he dies. So the messenger goes and tells Tilakavati, this is the situation of your brother. Please come see him. And Tilakavati says, I am not going to set foot inside Jain monasteries. If he wants to see me, he knows where I am. He is welcome to come and see me. So the messenger goes back, conveys that message to Dharmasena. So Dharmasena thinks about this, and he knows that he is going to die soon. And he desperately wants to meet his sister. So one night, he discards his Jain monk stuff. Right? Jain monks, they carry things like they paraphernalia. If you have seen Jain monks, they will be carrying a sort of a vessel in their hand, and they will be carrying a sort of a fan or a brush with peacock feathers. You have seen all those kind of things in Jain monks. If not, you can go and see it on YouTube. And he discards all of that. And also, as you know, the Jain monks of those days, they were the Digambara Jains. They were the ones who will go around without clothing. So he takes a white cloth, wraps it around himself, and with the help of a trusted servant, he sets out to go to visit his sister in the middle of the night with nobody else knowing. And he travels to his sister's place, and he probably would have reached his sister's place maybe around 4:30 in the morning, early dawn hours. So he goes to his sister and then falls at her feet, do namaskaram, because she's his sister, older sister, so he does namaskaram. And then she speaks soothing words, and then she chants the name of Namah Shivaya and gives him holy ash, says, apply this holy ash on your body. And he takes that holy ash and puts it on his body. Remember, he has spent 30-40 years disparaging Shiva, disparaging Saivite practices, but now he is close to death and he wants to repent for whatever he has done. And he takes the holy ash that his sister gave, applies on his body. Then the sister Tilakavati goes to the temple, and Dharmasena, now Marulniki, goes with her to the temple. So when they go to the temple, she tells him, pray to Shiva, he will help you. And then, when you are in great illness and you are going to die, and you are praying, how intense your prayer will be, we can imagine. And he prays, and whatever he prays, he started singing, and his prayers came out as songs. And that opening song says, Kootraayinavaru Vilakkagilir, which means, this disease has come to me like death, like Yama. Can you not get rid of this? and he sings 10 songs. In every song, he describes the intense pain he is suffering and pleads for that Shiva's grace to make the pain go away. And he completes 10 songs. At the end of, after he finishes his 10 songs, he receives Shiva's grace. Immediately his stomach pain vanishes, and a heavenly voice, Ashariri, declares that from today onwards you will be known as Thirunavukkarasar, which means Navu means tongue, Na is tongue, Arasu is king. So from today you will be known as king of speech. And that's what the meaning of Thirunavukkarasar means. And now he has been a totally transformed person. Right? Once you receive Shiva's grace, you are a different person. We have seen that in Tirunjana Sambandar's life. Right? When he was a 3-year-old child, he cries for Appa, Amma. He cries. And then Shiva and Parvati come and give him milk of knowledge. The moment he drank that milk, Shiva and Parvati came, blessed him and gave the milk of knowledge. That instant, he is a totally different person. He got all the knowledge that is there to be known. Like that, Thirunavukkarasar, the moment he had Shiva's grace, he was a transformed person. And then he stayed in the place Tiruvadigai, where his sister was living, and every day he will go to the temple, sing padhigams, and followed the ways of worship that his sister showed. So for him, really speaking, his sister was his guru, right? She was the one who gave him the diksha, gave him the mantrobadesam, and showed him the path. So she was his guru. So he followed her approach. So he will go to the temple, he will do service in the temple, doing gardening or clearing shrubs to make sure that the pathways around the temple are clean for the devotees to walk around. If something is not right, he will set it right. If something is to be built, he will build it. So he was doing that kind of a physical service in the temple and singing padhigams praising Shiva. So he has become great acharya. And when the Jain monks learnt about all these things, that our Dharmasena has now become a Hindu, become a Shaiva. He has become a Shiva devotee. And he is worshipping in Shiva temples, he is putting holy ash on his body, he is talking badly about Jainism, blah, 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 right? So, they fear two things. One, there is an ego, right? He has gone, he has rejected us. So that ego is there. Second, if he becomes powerful, people will convert back to Hinduism from Jainism. And if people become Hindus again, our power will be lost. So they decide to do something about it. So they hatch up a plan. They go to the Pallava king, the king of that region. And that Pallava king was also a Jain. So they go to the king and tell him that, this Dharmasena faked his illness. He claimed that he got stomach pain that we could not cure, right? If there's a real stomach pain, we would have cured, but he was faking it. So he was claiming that his pain wasn't gone, even though we gave all our mantras and medicines. And then now he went back to his sister. He became a Shiva devotee and claiming that Shiva has cured his stomach illness. So he is lying like this and he is disparaging our religion. So he should be punished. That's what they tell the Pallava king. The Pallava king buys their story and sends some ministers and some soldiers to the Tiruvadigai town to go arrest Dharmasena and bring him to my court. So the king the minister, a couple of ministers and their maybe 10-15 soldiers, whatever set of soldiers, they go to Thiruvadigai. They go to the place where Thirunavukkarasar is staying and tell him that, it is our king's order to arrest you and bring him to his court. And Thirunavukkarasar looks at them and says, what? What are they saying? Who is this king? I am not coming. I don't have to obey his orders. I am not coming. And his response, whatever I told you in 2 sentences, that response, when he replied to the king's ministers and the soldiers, it came out as a padhigam. He sang a set of 10 songs in response to that order that they communicated, in which he says, I am devotee of Shiva, I am not a subject of any king, I don't have to listen to your king's orders. And when he said that, they couldn't forcibly take him, right? If 5 or 6 soldiers come and grab you by hand and drag you out, right? They could have done it for normal people. But Thirunavukkarasar they could not do, because the whole town is with Thirunavukkarasar. So 5 people or 10 people cannot enforce something when there are 500 people around them stopping them from doing it. So the ministers tell him, if we go back without you, the king will punish us. So Thirunavukkarasar looks at them and says, these are poor people, they shouldn't get punished by the king. So he says, Shiva is there, he will protect me, I will come with you. So he goes with them voluntarily. So that is the background of this padhigam. Now, the first padhigam of Thirunavukkarasar, Kutrayanavaru, we are not seeing today. If you want, we can see it at a later date. But this padhigam is the padhigam of his response to the king's ministers, who communicated that king has asked for his arrest and to be brought back to the court. So this padhigam is a very powerful padhigam, a padhigam that says that, rejecting the, what you can call, the people who give incorrect orders and demanding that, we are free. That kind of a very powerful, rebellious response. So that is the background. Before we go into the padhigam, do you have any thoughts, comments, questions? We can discuss. Okay. If not, we will go to the first song of the padhigam. And Murthy, you can repeat with me. nAmArkkum kuḍi allōm, namaṉai añjōm, naragattil iḍarppaḍōm, naḍalai illōm, ēmāppōm, piṇi aṛiyōm, paṇivōm allōm, iṇbamē ennāḻum, tuṇbam illai, ārkkum, kudiyallā, taṇmaiயான saṅgaraṉ, naṛ-caṅga, veṇ-kuḻai, ஓர் காதில், கோமார்க்கே, நாம் என்றும் மீளா ஆளாய், koym-malarccēvaḍi, இணையே kuruginome. So, in this song, this is his first song in this padhigam of his response. This song meter is called taṇḍagam. These are 4-line songs, but each line is a long line. That's why you see it as 8 lines in the output, but it is actually 4 lines. If you look at the rhyming pattern, you will see that it is 4 lines. And this meter is called a taṇḍagam. And Thirunavukkarasar was a very great master of this particular meter. So we have about 1,000 songs of Thirunavukkarasar in this meter. So in this song, what he is saying is that this is his response. The king's ministers come and tell him that king has ordered your arrest and we are going to take you to the king's court. That is what they communicated, the king's ministers. So this is Thirunavukkarasar's response to them. His opening statement is nAmArkkum kudiyallōm. Nam is we. Right? Instead of saying I, he says we in this response. Which means that he is Shiva's devotee and he is using the royal we in this response. nAmArkkum kudiyallōm. Kudi means subject. Ārkkum means to anyone. Allōm means we are not. So nAmArkkum kudiyallōm means we are not subject of anyone. Right? Thirunavukkarasar says, I am not your king's subject. Because why is he saying that? If you are living in a kingdom, you are a subject of a king, you have to obey the king's order. You cannot go against the king. So he is in the king's kingdom, but he is saying, I am not your king's subject. I am not subject of any king. That's the meaning of that line. nAmArkkum kudiyallōm. And namaṉai añjōm means naman is Yama. añjōm means we are not afraid. namaṉai añjōm means we are not afraid of Yama. Why does he say that? Because his first statement is king's order is not obeying the king's order. So nAmArkkum kudiyallōm. I am not your king's subject. I am not going to come. Right? And what happens when you go against king's order? King is going to punish you, and disobeying king's order will get you death. So that's what he is saying. I am not your king's subject, and I am not afraid of Yama. And then he says, naragattil iḍarppaḍōm naḍalai illōm. Naragattil iḍarppaḍōm. Narakam, hell. Iḍarppaḍal means to suffer. We will not suffer in hell. Naḍalai illōm. We have no falsehood. Very interesting statements, because who will be suffering in hell? Those who cheat, those who lie, those kind of things. And he is saying, I have no falsehood. Whatever I say is truth. I haven't done anything wrong. So I will not go to hell. ēmāppōm. ēmāppōm means we are proud. For a devotee, devotees will say we are humble. Right? But here Thirunavukkarasar is saying we are proud. ēmāppōm. We are proud. Why is he saying we are proud? He is a Shiva devotee and he is proud to be a Shiva devotee. Right? Because the king is a Jain and the Jains are trying to arrest him and punish him. So he says, I am proud to be a Shiva devotee. So that shows his braveness. How brave he was, how staunch devotee he was. So ēmāppōm, we are proud to be Shiva devotee. piṇi aṛiyōm. piṇi means bonds, bondage, right? The bandhas. The bandham is piṇi in Tamil. piṇi has two meanings. One is bondage, right? The karma or other pasam, right? All the bonds that we have. That's one meaning of piṇi. Other meaning of piṇi is disease or illness, those kind of things. But here it means we have no bonds, we are free. Right? That is his statement. We are free. We have no bonds, no bondages. paṇivōm allōm. paṇivōm means we will submit. allōm means we will not. So paṇivōm allōm means we will not submit. We will not surrender. We will not obey. paṇivōm allōm. iṇbamē ennāḻum. Iṇbam is happiness, joy. ennāḻum means every day, at all times. iṇbamē ennāḻum. We are joyful at all times. ennāḻum tuṇbam illai. Tuṇbam is suffering. Illai is no. ennāḻum tuṇbam illai. So we have no suffering. We never suffer. ennāḻum tuṇbam illai. He is saying all this, and then in the next part of the song, he is saying why he is able to say all these things. Because தாம் ārkkum kudiyallāt taṇmaiயான saṅgaraṉ. Shankara is the ultimate Lord, and there is no one above Shankara. So Shankara is not subject of any higher power. That's what it means. தாம் ārkkum kudiyallāt taṇmaiயான saṅgaraṉ. Shankara, who is not subject of any other higher power, that Shankara, naṛ-caṅga veṇ-kuḻai or kāḍil komarke. And Shankara has veṇ-kuḻai. naṛ-caṅga veṇ-kuḻai means Shankam is Shanka. Caṅgam, because of the sandhi, it becomes as naṛ-caṅga, good Shanka. Shanka is the conch, shell. And in those days, the shells were used to make bangles, to make earrings and all that. So, Shiva is wearing a earring that are worn by men that is made of shells. So, naṛ-caṅga veṇ-kuḻai, white shell, that veṇ is white, kuḍi is the earring that men wear usually. So, Shiva is wearing this white earring made with a shell on one ear, or kāḍil. Kāḍi is ear, or kāḍi means one ear. So Shiva is wearing the shell earring on one ear. What does it mean? He is referring to Ardhanarishwara form of Shiva. One half is male, other half is female. And the male half, the ear will have the kuḍi, and the female half, the ear will have the tod, which is a earring worn by women. So, by saying that Shiva is wearing white shell earring on one ear, he implies that he is Ardhanarishwara. That komarke, Koman is king. To that king, நாம் என்றும் மீளா ஆளாய் koym-malarccēvaḍi குறிகிறோமே. So we are subject, we have reached the holy feet of that king. Right? I worship the holy feet of Shiva, who is Shankara, who is Ardhanarishwara, and to that king I am eternal slave. All is slave. Mīla all means irredeemable slave, permanent slave, eternal slave. So to Shiva, I am an eternal slave. and I have reached his holy feet. koym-malarccēvaḍi illai means malar is flower. koym-malar is freshly picked flower, right? Fresh flower. That kind of fresh flower. Cēvaḍi is lotus feet, red feet. Illai is 2. Kuḍi means we have reached. We have surrendered. We have attained. So we have reached the lotus feet of Shiva, who is Shankara and who is Ardhanarishwara, and I am his eternal slave, and Shiva has no one above him, and because I am his slave, I am not your king's subject. Because I am his slave, I don't fear death. Because I am his slave, I will not go to hell. Because I am his slave, I am very proud to be his slave. And because I am his slave, I am always joyful. We always experience only joy. We never have any suffering. And because I am his eternal slave, I will not obey your king's order. That is his first song. So, if you have any questions, comments, we can talk. Good. Okay. So, maybe Rama, then you can repeat the whole verse. ēmāppōm. Very good, very good. Then we will go to the next song. Again, Murthy, you can follow with me. அகலிடமே இடமாக. Okay. Okay. So, in that case, since you don't have time, we will listen to the Oduvar singing this song, and then we will conclude today's session. And then next time we meet, we can continue with the remaining songs. So we will conclude at this point and continue next time with the remaining songs. Tiruchitrambalam.